Ladies and gentlemen, CAHO and ISQA have worked together on many new initiatives in the past few years since coming together. And this is the last week of the tenure of our current CEO of ISQA, Dr. Peter Lachman, who has been a great friend and supporter of CAHO's initiatives. On behalf of the governing committee of CAHO and on behalf of the patrons of CAHO, I would like to thank him and the ISQA team under his leadership, we have been doing a great collaborative work together. So from the time CAHO became an institutional member of ISQA in 2018, it has been a very enriching journey of learning and sharing, right from the participation of ISQA expert and ISQA president, Professor Dr. Ravindran Jagasoti as a keynote speaker in CAHOCon 2019 Mumbai. And today also, he is our friend. He is a pillar of strength to CAHO. And thank you, Dr. Jagasoti, for gracing the program today. Participation of CAHO's core leadership team in ISQA's international conference in Cape Town in South Africa in 2019. We had enrollment of more than a dozen members from India since then for the ISQA Fellowship Program. Successful conduct of the CAHO World Patient Safety Day 2020 virtual event with keynote address by Dr. Peter Lachman himself. Launch of the CAHO ISQA International Webinar Series. ISQA nominating speakers in the CAHO's Continuing Quality Education Series, as was done even today. Selection of CAHO experts to the ISO Technical Committee 304 Healthcare Organization Management Standards, in which Dr. Lalu Joseph and Dr. Anuradha Pichumani have been selected, and they are representing us. We planned also the launch of ISQA CAHO Fellowship Program for the Southeast Asian region. So the story goes on. Through all these initiatives, Dr. Peter Lachman has been a source of tremendous strength and support, encouraging, motivating, and guiding us every step of the way. We hope to continue this relationship with Dr. Carsten Angel, the incoming CEO of ISQA, and thanks, Dr. Carsten, for taking your time out to be with the CAHO family today. I will like to invite Dr. Peter Lachman, our chief guest of the day, for his address. Over to Dr. Peter Lachman.
Thank you very much. What I wanted to do today is to speak to you and thank you for the opportunity for what you have given me over the past few years. I will give you the opportunity to expand what you have been doing over the past few years. I will give you the opportunity to expand what you have been doing over the past few years in quality and safety. For me, there are 10 values that we have to have. And I'm going to do this without PowerPoint because it's just as good. You asked me to speak about my experience about leading from the front. And I gave some thought to this as I come to the end of my 5 very good years with ISQA. These years were very good because before these years, I hadn't met all of you. And now I've met you and made friends with the people in India and CAHO. And I think that that has been the greatest experience I've had, the friends I've made around the world. And for us, in this instance, the friends in your region and particular in India. The first thing that I really wanted to talk about is what you have to do for your values for leadership. The first one is to have a vision. And my vision when I came in was to expand the scope of ISQA to around the world, to all areas of quality and safety. The second part, or the second point I want to put in order to achieve that vision, one needed to have inclusiveness. That means that I didn't have the solutions. I came to learn and find out and work with you for these solutions. Earlier today, or throughout today, as you've been listening to what happens for human resources, this concept of inclusiveness becomes even more important. The next value, number 3, which I want to highlight, is one that has become even more important over the past year, but has always been there, but sometimes forgotten. It was alluded to earlier today when Trina Fortune spoke, the importance of kindness. Now, you might say, why do we have to make kindness an important issue right today? It's because sometimes there hasn't been any kindness for us in the systems that we work with. And I think that as I was listening to the last 2 talks, they were speaking about this kind of kindness that is essentially part of what we do. We need to be kind to ourselves. That's the first issue, in order to be kind to others. And we need to be kind to ourselves as healthcare workers in order to be kind to the people for whom we care. So kindness is the core value that we have to have as we go forward. In order to achieve kindness, we need the 4th value, which is that of respect. And the value of respect is very important for us to show going forward. This value is respecting each other for what we do and how we do it, knowing where we have to work and how we work together. That's essential going forward. To really understand this idea of respect, we need to understand that we are all people coming from different positions with different viewpoints, and that we have to really understand how these viewpoints meet each other to get to where we want to go. The following one, number 5, which is in my value system, is really thinking about what leaders have to do, is make difficult decisions, and for that you need courage. Courage is something that is lacking often, and we saw that right now in the COVID pandemic, because sometimes decisions have to be made that are not popular and that go against what people want to do in order to be safe. And leaders have to have courage at all times. And as we look at the challenges we face right now, you in India have to show courage as you go through the pandemic in the 2nd wave. So let's get on. That's 5 of the values that I thought that a leader needs. So I've got 5 more to go from my experience. The next one is humility. I've been in healthcare leadership for many years, and I've seen many leaders who had no humility and the best leaders who were very humble. And I'm going to give you an example, because when I was working in South Africa in 1992, at the time of change, we were in the elections, and Nelson Mandela was invited to one of the campaign launches in which we had school children. In fact, we invited every political party to come to the school children, teenagers, who were going to question the leaders. What is the future going to be for me? Every party sent their leader. And when they came in, they all sat down, and then in came Mandela. And he went to every school child that was in the audience to say hello, shake their hands, and show the humility of what can I do for you, rather than saying, this is what I'm going to do to you. And that humility is something that we often lack. And I think it's very important for us to have that. The seventh experience I learned is the importance of transparency. Now, I've been working in the field of patient safety all my life, sometimes without knowing I was working in the field of patient safety, and that was before To Err is Human, which came out 20 years ago, as Trina said earlier today, 22 years ago. My first episode of patient safety was when I was a young doctor who first experienced a child dying because a baby had been given potassium chloride in error. And what happened then in that system, which was a human factors failure, I do not think there was the transparency that was required. And even today, transparency is lacking in what we do. So in order to progress as a leader, one needs to have transparency with the humility. Sometimes we'll get it right and sometimes we'll get it wrong, but we need to be open about it. That leads to the next value that is incredibly important. And we've learned about this in the last year even more so. And that is we have to learn. Now, you might ask, why is it that I was keen to establish this partnership with Kaho? Because when you came to me, I think it was in Kuala Lumpur maybe, where we first met, and made the early ideas of this going forward in 2007, London, 2017, when we first met Anuradha. When we first did that, the potential for learning, which is the next value, was immense. I said, well, if we could reach the number of people that you have access to in India and in the Sierra region and beyond, as you have, then the sky is the limit. And that is what this partnership is about, is learning, giving learning from around the world and bringing it to you in India and in the rest of the subcontinent and the region, so that we can accelerate the advances that we've had in some other parts. And you heard today from Keda from Malaysia. You heard from Trina from her experience with WHO. You're going to hear next week on our other series from Anna Edwards from the UK and Isabella Castro from Brazil. You're hearing from around the world the ability to spread learning, and that is so important. And that brings us to the next area, which is co-production. In ISQA, we have been working with Paul Batalden from the US and Jean Nelson and the team from Dartmouth on co-production. And co-production is the way forward for healthcare. You see, quality in healthcare starts with standards and evaluations, then goes to systems thinking, and then ends up in having to co-produce health. And what we are doing here together is co-production, so that we can really find out where we are going forward in the future together. Now, the 10th one is really the most important because it comes to us all. And that is everything we do must be based on justice and equity. One of the things that COVID has taught us is that the social determinants of health are so important in determining what happens to you. And you may be seeing that in India now, as we've seen it in the other countries. It is not country specific, it's worldwide. And we as healthcare leaders need to ensure that there's justice and equity for all in the way we provide health for everyone. So in summary, the 10 areas that we have to think about are having a vision, being inclusive, being kind and respectful, having the courage of our convictions to make changes, to always be humble and have humility, to be transparent in all that we do, to be constantly learning, and then to co-produce and to make a difference together based on justice and equity. And I end with a quote from Nelson Mandela, which says, "It is better to lead from behind and to put others in front, especially when you celebrate victory when nice things occur. You take the front line when there is danger. Then people will appreciate your leadership." I want to thank you for your leadership and your partnership, your kindness and your generosity to having invited me in and to invite ISQA in to your lives at Kaho and to all of you in India. I wish you well in the future and welcome you to the ISQA conference, which is virtual, supposed to be in Florence in a few months' time, and to ongoing partnership with ISQA with my successor, Dr. Carson Engels. Thank you very much. I wish you well.
Thank you, Dr. Peter Lachman. CAHO is truly indebted to you for the support extended by ISQA, and we are very inspired by your talk. I have seen all the qualities of the leadership, whichever you have described in you these 3 years. And so all of us are very inspired by your talk.